alive. So, I was going to do this video as a long form, planned long form, but I want to get back to the business content that I've been doing recently because, when you think about it, business content or advice on hitting your goals and things, I think it's one of them single biggest things that you can do to improve your life. And even if, today I'm going to talk about the avoidant attachment style and my own personal experiences with it and, how you can heal from it. But when you think about relationships, attachment styles, it doesn't really matter, right? One of the best things that you can do to propel your life is to hit your goals, because what you tend to find is once you start getting some success, all your problems, even if you're like massively anxious in relationships, it all seems to sort of start going away. So I do want to get back to the business content, which is why I've decided to do this one as a live. And you could say I'm winging it a bit, but there you go, So when we think about avoidance, right? What is avoidant attachment? And, how does it start? Where does it come from? Well, I've read a lot of books. I've got some here. This is a great one. Getting the Love That You Want. I recommend that one. And the original here as well, Attached, which is, Amir Levine, Rachel Heller. This is, when this, attachment theory has been about now, it's sort of all the rage at the minute, but when this book came out, I can't remember when it was published, let's have a little ganders. First published 2010, so it's been about, right, but when this book came out, I think it kind of revolutionised a lot of thoughts. And the one thing that I got from reading this book, yes, there's a test in it, you know what I mean, somewhere sort of part way through, somewhere. Where is it? Here we go. Here's a test. I'm not showing you my answers. Well, all right, where did I score? At this, you have to retest it. So I've got a copy of this, I sometimes do on paper. So when I first tested myself on this, I was anxious side of secure. Now, I've naturally been avoidant. Why did I become anxious side of secure? Well, at the time I was suffering from a breakup, so it sort of dragged me back. Even an avoidant person, when they get under threat, can all of a sudden move more towards anxious. But I've always been avoidant, you know what I mean? And then when I retested myself, so this current score, I am avoidant side of secure, but not massively. And when I tested myself here, I would rather stay there. So where do I want to be as a person? I'd rather be, as a guy, avoidant side of secure, but not massively. I don't want to be a complete avoidant prick, which is where I have been for a few years, right? And I kind of got tired of that and fed up of it, right? But where does it come from? Well, it comes from your primary formative years. I'm not up with the science on this, but from everything I've read, it comes from your formative years. And, we're a product of our environment. So if we've lived a life of, not getting many pats on the back or not being shown that associating affection and intimacy as being safe, if you've grown up in an environment where that is not either suppressed, not given, or not shown to you that it's safe to do that. So, like, bit of vulnerability here from my perspective. My mother died when I was 6 years old, right? So I don't feel I had a full family upbringing. This has always been back of my mind, and I suppose I've always had, because of that event, I was only 6, I kind of bottled it up, even at 6 years old, and carried it all the way into my 20s, and then started to sort of unpack it. But in your brain, you've got this thing called the amygdala, which is this little filtering bit where if you don't process your emotions as they come, they almost get baked into your subconscious, because your amygdala can only process so much. So when you get this massive rush, like a tragic event like that, you might not have time to process it, and it might bake into your subconscious brain. And then the problem is with your subconscious brain is you develop these fucking learnt behaviours. They're like bloody motor skills, you know, like training habits that I always talk about. And you subconsciously behave. So what did I personally, I ended up with like some kind of fear of abandonment. And I spent all my, this is what's given me my drive and everything, all my success is a result of this, because it gave me like a certain drive where I'd be like, I just felt that I had to do everything for myself, be super independent, because you can't rely on others, because I'll abandon you. And I just went on one, and I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to achieve that, I'm going to smash this, I'm going to smash that. And that's why, you know, I go on about all this flipping goal achievement stuff. I'm in the business of goal achievement, by the way. I'm in business, I sell products for it to help people. But I got that drive from that feeling that I can only rely on myself. And it's only now, last sort of few years, been kind of unpacking it, right? And the thing is with avoidance is that there's almost like a double bind to it, right? You've got, on the one hand, everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants good people in their life, right? And I do, I've got great relationships. I've worked on relationships with family and things like this. But we all want to be fucking loved, right? So we kind of secretly, if you're avoidant, you secretly crave love. But in getting it, as you get closer, the avoidant fears spike. You know, you fear that closeness. I did a video on how to date an avoidant woman. I know I've done one recently on how to date an anxious woman. Because I've got experiences with both, right? But the one on how to date an avoidant woman really, really got me. So in my own experience, usually an avoidant person, if you're severely avoidant, you tend to attract someone anxious or maybe fearful avoidant most of the time, because you're at opposite ends of that, you know, that kind of polarity. You know, I think just like it says in this book, Getting the Love That You Want, is fantastic. It's not very, it doesn't sound very manly, does it? But I'll tell you now, there's that much knowledge in this. They use a concept called imago therapy. Imago is Latin for image, and it means the image that you have of yourself. So, just a quick recap. I don't want to go into attachment styles because we all know that, but in simplest, you've got on one end you've got anxious people, on the other end you've got avoidant people, in the middle you've got secure. You've got something called fearful avoidant, which is a mixture of the two ends. They can vacillate between the two. But if we just look at that scale, severely anxious, severely avoidant, we want to be moving more towards secure. So we're like balanced in our emotions, you know what I mean? We don't fear anything. Now, the most no-fear people that are the most cutthroat ever are definitely the avoidants. And extreme avoidance gets into narcissism, and if you're like that, and I've been like that, you're absolute cutthroat, right? That's great for smashing the hell out of everyone, getting your needs met, just being totally fucking selfish. But you never develop a true connection or a true bond, right? So what this book says is the imago therapy, the image, you tend to get with the opposite. This is called the anxious-avoidant trap. And instead of sort of feeding off each other with the usual back and forth and push-pull, What you need to do is practicing the missing part of you. This is the imago therapy. So if you're avoidant, even though it's horrible, you've got to practice being more loving, more like the anxious. Avoidant, I'll tell you now, from my own experience, I absolutely hate that stuff. I call myself a loving man. It's just a piss take. But yeah, being super vulnerable is hard for an avoidant. So, but you've got to do it. You've almost, it's like training a habit in the opposite direction. And if you're anxious, you've got to practice restraint. So not being so needy, not reaching out so much. And that's hard for the anxious because, you know, if the anxious is craving loads and loads of, they need constant attention, constant connection, for this person to step back, it hurts them. It's like, no, I want more, I want more. They can't fucking help it. Right, that's my experience. But you've got to practice the missing part of you, which is your shadow. That is your shadow. The missing part of you is your shadow. And you've heard, you know, Jordan Peterson, integrate your shadow, all that stuff. Carl Jung, isn't it? How do you integrate your shadow? Practice the missing part of you. Practice the opposite of what you are. And then if you can do that together, both people come closer to the middle, where it becomes less traumatic, less drama, and more closer. So yeah, how do we practice that? Well, consciously. A few things that I do. Journal. Right, obviously, this is my journal, the Journal for Goal Achievement, but I've been journaling for years. I've got years and years of journaling. And the best thing about journaling is you've got that correction part. Well, I like this, setting the intent in the morning. So, you know, the gratitude and the affirmation, really good. Just being grateful for what you are, what you've got. But at night, I like doing the correction. So if you've been particularly avoidant or particularly been an avoidant prick or an arsehole, you can correct yourself every night. And the great thing is when I read these back, you know, every sort of 6 months or so, you can see growth because you're capturing it in the moment. It's very hard to think about how you was last year in your head if you're working on some things, how you was feeling at that particular moment, because if you think about the past from now, you rewrite it compared to where you are now based on how you see yourself, your current emotions. So what better than to document it in real time and then read it back, because then you really, really have an accurate record of the truth. Another thing that I did was Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program. Quite good. You just go on selfauthoring.com, I think it is. It's only like $25 for the whole shooting match. And you've got the past authoring and the future, the past authoring, the current, and then the future authoring. And the past authoring element of it, you go right back to, and you know what I said is when you think about the past, all our memory, we just have like, it's like vivid images. It's not like detail. We don't remember the absolute detail on a particular day. Unless you write it down in a journal, you'll never know what you did on that day. Now, since I've been journaling, I can do that. I can go back and think, yes. You might have key days in the past, like really, really big events. You'll remember the exact day, time, all that kind of thing, right? But you remember it as an image, like a little movie or an image in your head. And it can be quite vivid, and over time you can think differently about it. This is like, you know, in all relationships, this is why people think differently about breaking up with someone and then go back to them, and, you know, because we rethink. So being aware that we alter the past when we think about it. I did Jordan Peterson's self-authoring because I think in terms of trying to remember the past, it's probably about the closest to post-rationalising a journal. Right? Start journaling from now, then you get an accurate reflection. This is why I do it every single day. then I've got an accurate account for the rest of my life. But to document the past, if you want to do this, it is useful for your own self-development. The best one I found is Jordan Peterson's self-authoring, because it breaks it down in such a way, and the questions that it asks you is almost like trying to get closer. And I when I was going right back, I was like asking my auntie, who's like my mum's sister, is this correct? Have I got the right account? And she was telling me little things. Oh yeah, I remember that. So it's really good. Anyway, I've done that. I've done the I document the future. So journaling's mega. And it's all about mindfulness and being self-aware. Another thing that I do, of course, is meditation coaching. Sorry, I have a coach. And because all that avoidance and all that my childhood got me so far in life, like I was able to start businesses and just do things, you know what I mean, and just be cutthroat and get what I want. But I realised that all them things are external, and I felt the need. It's like, how much fucking money do you, I ain't got that much, but how much money do you need? I'm just comfy. How much do you need? It's all external. It's like, once you get to a point, it's like, do you just get more? Or do you start going inwards into a spiritual journey? So this is what I did. Started meditating, going on a spiritual, becoming more self-aware, conscious. And it's been great, right? And understanding that there's something higher. There's a great series on YouTube by Leo on actualize.org. The one thing that I thought was absolutely fabulous, it's called the 9 Stages of Ego Development. You could probably Google it and find it on YouTube. It's brilliant. But understand that there was like these 4 areas. You had pre-conventional thoughts, like really simplified worldviews, conventional worldviews, which is plugged into society, you know. And I was pretty much all my life, like, there's this one of them called an achiever, where all I believed was science is the answer, and just bum bum bum, ignore everything else, just science, bum bum bum. Excuse me. Even organised religion is conventional, because it's a conventional mindset. Post-conventional is where you start thinking outside the box, you become more self-aware, conscious, you're sort of rising up that, is it the Hawkins chart, levels of consciousness? So yeah, I've been doing that. And what the spiritual journey has taught me with Roberto, my meditation coach. I've done some videos on my channel with Roberto, some interviews, you can find them. What that has taught me is a really great concept that, like, it's almost like, you could say it's like letting go. And especially when it comes to relationships, which I think are one of the most, you know, communication relationships, one of the most important skills you should work on and develop is a concept of loving without attachment. Famous, is it Thich Nhat Hanh? You've got to love the other person so the other person feels free. Famous quote. Loving without attachment is great for both anxious and avoidant. It's to understand that, like, you know, if you think about the avoidant fear, it's the avoidant, it fears closeness because they associate it with not safe, right? Emotional intimacy is not safe. So typical pattern, you spend some time with an avoidant and they'll be okay if they know they've got a weekend with you. I did this in the How to Date an Avoidant Woman. So if you go date an avoidant woman, right, or avoidant guy, doesn't matter, right, someone avoidant, let's say you got a weekend with them, they'll be all right on that weekend. It'll be amazing. But they know there's an end date. That's why they're okay with it, because there's an end date. And then when that time finishes, they can go away and recharge. And, you know, so you live, avoidant wants independence. So you live, they need that independence, space and time. and then let them recharge, and then you come back together again, and then go away. And the avoidant almost sees it as two individuals meeting together to have this time, and then they go away and be individuals again. Whereas for the anxious, they just want to be together all the time, right? But understanding, no matter whether you're avoidant or anxious, loving without attachment, like there's a few concepts, it's all about understanding that nothing is permanent. This is hard for an anxious person to understand, that they want that relationship forever. But you've got to understand that nothing is permanent, right? You either break up, one dies, or you both die, or whatever. Nothing's permanent. So understanding that and kind of like letting go of the outcome, pretty easy for an avoidant, until an avoidant has to get super close. Avoidant needs to risk a deep connection, intimacy, risk being vulnerable, knowing that if it doesn't work out, it'll be fine. And learning how to love without attachment is a good one. Another one, I'll give you another phrase. Loving from a distance is quite close to loving without attachment, because it's almost like giving love freely without accepting it in return. Can you do that? Can you risk loving someone knowing that you might not be loved back? How hard is that? I think in historic folk tale or whatever, the knights of England, King Arthur time, that sort of stuff, were famous for choosing unrequited love, purposefully unrequited love, because they didn't believe that it was real love unless it was unrequited. So that's like giving love freely without getting anything back. Quite a hard thing to do. I don't think you should do that, by the way. Hang on, let's correct. You can do it as long as you understand that you're okay with it. So yeah, I think I've pretty much said everything there. Yeah. Suppose, yeah, I would go and definitely read this book, Getting the Love That You Want. There's another one that they've done that I'm going to buy next. It's called The Imago Therapy. I think it's just the Imago Therapy guide. It might be, I think it's aimed at sort of therapists and psychologists and coaches, but I just find the knowledge fantastic. I'll tell you what I'll talk about now. Right, I've dated both anxious and avoidant people. And when I did my Jordan Peterson thing, the one thing that I found, the one pattern, is I always got hurt by avoidant women. Which sounds obvious, but you might think, well, how can avoidant end up with an avoidant? Got me thinking that. I actually thought, shit, am I actually a narcissist? Because I know two narcissists can be together and enjoy it, because neither of them are too clingy. And I thought, fuck, is that how bad I am? But I can't be, right? Because apparently a narcissist can't even accept that they are that way. So just I know for a fact, I've got some anxious tendencies. Like when I dated an avoidant, they pushed me anxious. It's fucking mental. It's like you're normally avoidant with everyone until you meet someone who's more avoidant than you, and they just turn you into an anxious weakling. So yeah, that's quite tough. But I do find that me personally, dating anxious, very, very anxious, tends to push me away. But I'm becoming more and more conscious of this stuff, like after all the reading and you know, understanding, becoming more mindful. The meditation and the journaling and everything, and self-reflection really helps, because when you meet someone that is a particular attachment style, when you're self-aware of everything, when you understand it and you've done the reading, you can just accept them for who they are and don't take it personally, you know. You don't need to take it personally. It might not be about you, it might be their attachment style. I just realised I got my AirPods in. I've got a mic here, by the way, that's what I'm using. Hope it's still running, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I've got some questions. Very well, yeah, thank you very much, yeah. I've sent you 100,000 quid, would you mail me some Monster Munch to the States? Yeah, of course. Yeah, just hit me with an email, I'll sort it out, yeah. Thanks for the 100,000 quid. Yeah, so anyway, let me know what you think about your points and comments on whether you're an avoidant and you're wondering how to do it. In the description, just down below, I put the points that we're talking about, right? I've got them here actually, I'll just read them out. What the avoidant attachment style is and how it starts, which we've been through, like, you know, it comes from childhood and really, you know, you have an association that emotional closeness is not safe. That double bind, where you crave, as an avoidant, you'll crave love, but at the same time you'll fear emotional closeness. Right, so you've got to look at steps to build emotional intimacy without losing your independence. That's the book to read for that. Getting the love that you want. So what you're doing as an avoidant is you're practicing the missing part of you, the shadow, which is the missing part of you is the opposite of avoidance. It's being, you know, more vulnerable. So you've got to practice vulnerability and risking love, right? It's like training a habit. Tools to help you, journaling, obviously. My journal, if you want to buy it, link down below. Journal for goal achievement, if you want to smash everything like me. Or, you know, just journaling, writing down in the moment, practicing self-awareness, gratitude, right? Loving without attachment, meditation, mindfulness, understand when to lean in and when to give yourself space. So even forgive yourself, you know, if you feel like you need a bit of space, it's fine. When I've, in the past, when I dated someone anxious, after a few days, you know, if they're really anxious and sort of getting on to me and pushing me away, I just need a few days to recharge and then I'm fine, I'll just come back. Yeah. And practice ways to build trust and emotional safety in relationships. That is practicing the missing part of you, the shadow self, you know, your shadow. And that's it. Right, thank you for listening. Hope that was super useful. Shoot me any emails, comments and everything. And yeah, I bid you good day. Go and watch my videos on how to date an avoidant woman. I did one on this book when I was out in Lake Garda. Well, no, I was at Lake Tenno. It's just above, getting into the Dolomites, you know, above Lake Garda. It's a nice little lake, it's beautiful. Nice video, that one. It was called Integrate Your Shadow or You'll End Up Dating It, which is what I'm saying, you know, you've got to integrate your shadow. Because you do date your shadow, basically. And that's what this book's about. And then I think there's a second follow-up to it where I was at home talking more about the book. You'll find it in my relationships playlist. And then I've just done one on dating an anxious woman as well, so go and have a listen to them. The reason why this is important, because I did a video, not relationship specific, it's more general self-improvement video, maybe a week ago, about the 7 mental models for success, of which one of them was 3 of them were related to communication. And the reason why you need to solve this, like when I was reading books, I know I've done my Manson's models review, a lot of the stuff that I found in here, and to do with what we're talking about, becoming more secure, not only helps you in your personal life, but it helps you in business. It certainly has for me. And those mental models, and 3 that are about communication, you know, because I find that there's something else in business called, you've got these attachment styles, right, which is how we profile people for love, right, and it's thrown around the internet. There's another one for business called disc profiling, right? But it's incredible. If you can quickly pigeonhole someone into one of these, whether it's a disc profile or an attachment style, you can pretty much predict how they'll behave. Which means you can also do that for yourself. And you might look at that and go, okay, if I can predict how I'm going to behave in any situation, do I want to behave like that? If the answer is no, you need to do something about it. Right, thank you for listening. Yeah, have a nice day. It's scorching here. See you all next time. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, bye-bye. Where's the end?